I accepted with happiness because our company, like I said, because it's a global scale company and because of the industry we're in, the issues of compliance and ethics are very important. They are our number one topics, and we have a great saying, ethics in business is the business of everyone. You know, everyone is the leader of work ethics. This is how we should work, because mistakes taint the reputation of the company, and they can cost the reputation of a company sometimes. So what is the most important thing? It is the reputation of the company. You know, we're all employees of a company, and we are all working with the shareholders, and you know, we have taken over this and as a custody, and it has been entrusted to us, making long-term decisions and never replacing short-term priorities with long-term priorities, because when the going gets tough and you need to make tough decisions, these are gray areas. When you're clear in the gray areas, then the answers are clear. Let's say we have a process every 2 months, you know, every single day the cases are increasing, and you know, we are encouraging for people to increase the cases, and we examine them. You know, we need to find, we have a target of finalizing within 60 days. Sometimes there is no evidence, sometimes you're not sure, you know, it becomes to he said versus he said, and so in those cases, okay, we refer to our conscience. What does our instinct say? And, you know, does it make us worried? You know, does it concern you? Or sometimes it is just blame storming. So conscience is number one thing. Which feeling, which behavior is number one? Conscience, consistency is two, and three is justice, I would say. There are many other ideas or concepts, but let me build a system so, you know, the time that my conscience has to do work in overtime is reduced.
Well, to be honest, irrespective of the time, I believe taking ethical decisions is always difficult. If it doesn't hurt you, if it means that it's easy and you are not in an ethical dilemma. Well, these are all simple things, easy things. I think it goes on with the flow of the lives itself. And in Turkey, I don't think that there are easy times. We are unfortunately waking up with a new crisis each and every morning. This is our life in Turkey. And maybe I could give you an example from my daily life. Well, our high sales happen in November and December, because in alcohol sector before New Year, because there is also the price increase time in January. Well, I think one fourth of the annual sales take place in November and December. That's why sales teams works are really important in this period of time. And one seller is like 1 point of rotation. When they are ill, they cannot really go to this point of sales. We directly feel the impact of this lacking. But in this tough times, to take the proper decisions is more important. It hasn't happened in our market, but it happened in Diageo again. In December, there was a corruption story that our managers learned about our sales team member, and the manager said that this December is really busy. Okay, we'll take care of it in January. And the action wasn't taken, and the regional director, along with the general manager, fired all the team in December, because delaying the proper decision is not way too important than the profitability of the company. To be tolerant to corruption is not something in our company. And I'm sure that taking that decision by the regional director hurt that person, because it's very difficult to say goodbye to the other managers, but it's really important that others have seen that correct decision was taken by the managers. And I believe that good leaders reveal themselves in these tough decisions. And during earthquake,
First of all, that perception, it's always hard to break perception in whatever sector it is. People tend to work or to think or to act certain way, and it's really hard to change the one's opinion or to break that perception and to build completely new one. So there is always, you are right, there is always this perception. There is maybe sometimes unspoken, but always present, that state-owned entities are vulnerable to political influence, or vulnerable to bribery and corruption. Most of all, it's related to, as state is related to politically exposed persons, and it's always there is such risk, and there is such assumption that state-owned enterprises are vulnerable to those risks, and also vulnerable to conflicts of interest, which is also related in this regard to bribery and corruption risks. So now, I would say in reality, nowadays, in 2025, this perception might not be justified, and sometimes it's not accurate. Because, yeah, again, as it was just mentioned, like the private sector are not like perfect, and there are still those bribery and corruption risks. There are still conflicts of interest in private sectors as well. But still state-owned enterprises, and we for now cannot like in one day change it. State-owned enterprises always are seen through harsh lens. So this perception, I would say, we can start making changes if we go beyond minimum compliance standards. So it's not only you conduct KYC and that's it. I've checked the counterparty, I've checked the transaction, and there is no relation to PEP, that's it. But it's not like this, of course. As I've mentioned before, we have updated our entire compliance system, and first of all, a company has to address in detail conflicts of interest, how such cases are approached, and how the present risks are mitigated and potential risks can be prevented at all. Anti-money laundering, anti-tax evasion, of course, bribery and corruption, how all these sectors have to be in detail considered, and it has to be, it's not like you just draft policies and give them to employees and just you work like this, you have to comply with it. It's not like this. Of course, the policies, even also being a lawyer, I understand that legal function is a very small part of any company, and there are a lot of non-lawyers completely in all sectors who have to understand the policies and have to understand the requirements that he or she has to comply with. So the policies and procedures have to be comprehensive and not like purely legally drafted contract or some purely legal document. Then, of course, it has to be, as we have already discussed, from top to down approach. It has to be strong example by the management, so that the employee also can be led by this example. Then due diligence requirements have to be complied with. You have to apply risk-based approach. You have to be able to rate properly so that you can actually apply the correct mitigation actions in order to prevent potential risks. And of course, there has to be a transparent speak-up culture. This is very important. Helpline where where employees and non-employees who face any breaches related to SOCAR's activity can easily speak up and raise their voices, and employees need to know that they always can raise the concerns with their management, with their compliance function, and they won't be in any manner be like punished for that. So this is really crucial, and only in this case, I would say the very coin that we are discussing, only in this case, the coin really has worse. When your actions and your words and your actions are aligned, because this is actually how regulators assess us, how counterparties approach us. And this also brings, it's kind of win-win scenario, because this also brings tangible benefits also for the company itself, because if you can show that there is transparency and you operate within integrity rules and you comply with certain requirements, so you can easily access to international finance, which is crucial for any company. You can easily have access to important international projects that also can bring like really valuable financial funds benefit for you. So yeah, this is when there is an alignment in words and actions, this coin really has worth.
I'm also looking at it from the eyes of the employee. You know, first you need to maintain your life, and that could be the situation. And we need to be frank about this, because the individuals, yes, they might have, institutions might have, the leaders, the managers, they can say, we want to carry it to a certain place in 5, 10, 25 years. But with that horizon and the present, we need to build a bridge. I'm sure there is, but there is a 5 year, the employees focus on 5 years, 5 years targets. We're always thinking of yearly, how much we will produce this year, what is our margin going to be, by how much we will grow, and it's always this year. And the motivation problem, the premiums are built on them. And as I said, first you need to think of yourself and then the company. And we need an alignment there. And this responsibility, we cannot keep telling, be compatible, comply with the laws, and be ethical. It's not about instructing only, but you tell them, this is what we expect from you, the results of this year. So there's a conflict there. So what do we need to do? How do you make the two compatible with each other so that the employees, we are always there, so that they can always be interested in this. It's good when we're talking amongst ourselves, but some close the year in December, some in April. We keep talking about how to close the year with a focus. So, number one, perhaps this year, what we will, in addition to what we will do this year, where we will come 5 years later. Can we focus individuals on that? And how do we do that? We need to ensure that they want to be here 5 years later. They should see the future where they work at. So they should align their horizon with the company that they are working with, so that at their workplace, 3 years later, 5 years later, 7 years later, they will know that they will exist there, and they will know that their income is going to be firm and strong. So I'm going back and to the company culture, to the human resources and human culture. This is associated with that. So it is only then and there that people display the behaviors that we expect.
Biggest power of the companies is their employees, human beings. Well, from time to time, that structure is like the misalignment of a building. If You cannot build the structure properly with correct people. Whatever you produce, whatever you manufacture, products or services, it doesn't matter. You don't have the chance to maximize your purpose, your chance. And I always remember this. It's been 40 years ago, I guess. Well, deceased Sakıp Sabancı, the businessman, he said that a gifted cock cannot be slaughtered because he cannot be eaten and he cannot lay eggs as well. Yes, there should not be any gifted cocks, well, roosters, because your biggest capital is human beings. And when you make mistakes, well, we have this perfect digital systems. We have great set of rules, we have great products, but if you have wrong people, no, you cannot do it. It's not going to happen.
We were thinking of what the topic should be. We said ethics is a great concept. It looks good on the store window, and you know it's a cool concept when companies describe themselves as ethical. This is something expected, but in real life, in our decisions, or when the going gets tough, particularly when you're faced with losing money, can we still maintain our ethics? We wanted to address that. I want to make a small comment and give to Fikret. When you look at it from the macro perspective, such ethical related issues, their impact on investment atmosphere and climate. You mentioned about, competition. I will step out of Turkey, your late boss said, if there's a competition, fine. I see it frequently because the companies in Turkey, the leader positions, sometimes because of their deviation from ethical topics, global investors are questioning investing in Turkey or withdrawing from Turkey. They make such decisions, which reminds us once again how important these things are. And it's not within our daily lives, this is not about small incidents, but in terms of its impact and the investment climate is also. In the closing, I would like to say one thing. Being ethical is not about doing the right thing only, because about this there are statistics, and when we talk about being brave, it makes us profitable because it increases employee profitability or employee loyalty. When you see something wrong, it increases the percentage of these being reported, the ethics, so efficiency, work, attracting the right or retaining the right talent, and employee loyalty. All of these make the company grow, flourish, develop, be more profitable. So it's not remaining in the word, but being ethical without being afraid. So having a work life that way is very valuable. And let me share you one set of statistics, and I think it's from Thomson Reuters from 2020. A commercial activity, just because it's profitable, would you refuse it when it's not ethical? And the answer says 34% said I would refuse such a business or opportunity. So there is still some distance to be covered in that regard. So it's not a storefront ornament, and it's a part of life. Now my closing is about what we spoke in the panel, and also the main theme with reference to ethical intelligence. I will use 3 words. Word number 1 is being embarrassed or being ashamed. I don't know if you find this repulsive. It's not because of the difficulty of complying with the rules, but it's a moral breaking system coming from a consciousness of values. Is it a show of weakness? No, on the contrary, because it shows an individual's moral capacity as a phenomenon. And the ethical awareness culture, it is one of the cornerstones in companies. Being ashamed, imagine in a tough situation, in order to make the right decision, an employee that takes responsibility, you have your ethical intelligence and they have the sense of shame. Both are operable. Number two is not forgetting. To not forget, is it making a decision? Is it a matter of moment, one single moment, or is it a matter of memory? So do you make that decision at that very moment, or is it an accumulation of the past? A person with their ethical intelligence, they learn from their own mistakes and the mistakes of others, because they etch it into their value system. So the sense of not forgetting keeps their willpower to remain ethical alive. So making ethical decisions belongs to the present, but to not forget belongs to the future. And now my third word, now this comes for you, conscience. Conscience is our silent auditor, not the regulations, the legislation, the police, the laws. Conscience works, operates, and it makes our ethical behavior continuous. That is the actual mechanism. What happens when you silence conscience? You've got corruption, you've got bribe, you've got conflict of interest, you've got theft in a company. And we talk there's one more thing that we talk very little, and that is silent consent. If an employee is silent when they see an unethical behavior, that's one of the biggest dangers. And this actually, what Ms. Bahar said, answers what I will say. In institutions or corporations, ethical culture, it is alive to the extent it gives rooms for the conscience of the employees. If you give space for the conscience of the employees, it is automatically going to be in a good situation. So compiling these three words gives you a definition of ethical intelligence. It is shaped under the conscience guidance, and then to not forget carries it to the future, and you shouldn't be ashamed of doing this. There is a good lyrics about a song in the... I don't know, do you understand where it's headed? Sing the song too! No, it's just the lyrics. Unfortunately, I started listening to a group called Adamlar, the men actually, and I'm going to share this stanza with you. Be embarrassed. You wouldn't be a human being if you're not embarrassed. Just like a gold medallion, you should carry your conscience. A huge fire can burn with a single spark. They wouldn't forget, we wouldn't forget, I wouldn't forget. So this is the poem and the lyrics. So I hope we will carry our conscience like a gold medallion. Thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you.